And welcome back. If you've been following this channel, you know. If you haven't, I'm telling you now. I've been shooting film Fujifilm for basically the last 13 years, since 2011, since the first X100 launched. It was one of the first ones to pick one. And since then, I have never abandoned the brand. Yes, I've shot with other cameras, but Fujifilm has been my main brand for the last 13 years. And I've been shooting pretty much any possible type of pictures that you can think of. Landscapes, wildlife, street photography, weddings, couples, engagement, pregnancy, concert, you name it. And you know what? Instead of me talking, let me show you some of the pictures that I took with Fujifilm gear in the last years, and then we'll keep talking. So as you can tell, I was able to get very good result, and if it wasn't, it was definitely not the camera's fault, it was my fault. I have never felt like my gear was holding me back. And that's the most important thing when you have something that you use, a tool that you use to get to a result. However, despite the fact that I've never felt that I was being held back, I'm starting to be concerned about the future of Fujifilm X mount, not the GFX. This video is not related to a GFX mount. However, there may be some cross connections, and you will talk about them later, but I'm specifically talking about the Fujifilm X mount, the APS-C line. And I'm concerned about the future for a couple of decisions the Fuji have made, a couple of gaps the Fuji has, and it's not a nice place to be if you've been shooting with one brand for that much. When you start thinking about the future of the brand, whether it's worth staying or moving somewhere else, it's not a good place to be. Especially for someone like me who's been basically publicizing how great the Fujifilm brand was since I basically started this channel. And not only that, I was suggesting friends and people that I know to shoot Fuji just because how pleased I was with the result that I was getting. Now, let's be clear, it's not all doom and gloom. There's a lot of positives that come with the Fujifilm brand, and that's where I want to start. Cameras such as the X100 or the X-T50 are basically what they needed to be, the advancement that they needed to have to keep the brand going, to keep the line going. Yes, you can criticize some decision, you can criticize the cost, you can criticize the batteries, you can criticize the film simulation dial, but those are not key features that will at the end change the perspective on those cameras. Those cameras are great. The result that you get out of those cameras are great. And I defined the X-T50 as the quintessentially Fujifilm camera when I reviewed the camera, and I still stand by that. It's one of the most pleasing camera to use. You can see it right here with its kit lens. It's just a joy to use. Even cameras like the X-T5 was going back to the beginning of what Fujifilm was, a photography-oriented camera that was well built and would get you all the possibilities that you needed. The X-H2S, I'm gonna make a video specifically on that in the future. The X-H2S was a groundbreaking camera because that camera still has nowadays a combination of specs that no other camera in a price range that is close to that of the X-H2S has. That camera has some things that I don't like, but overall, it's an incredibly modern camera even 2 years after its launch. But again, there's going to be a video on the X-H2S specifically, so we're going to touch on that in another video. In any case, Fujifilm's cameras are inspiring. They just ask you to take them out and shoot with them. The firmware upgrades, although there's a big asterisk on that, have brought to the Fujifilm cameras everything we've asked them. They brought the red frame when you're recording, they brought the touch-to-track autofocus, they brought the possibility on the X-H2S to assign the ISO to another wheel. They basically listen to the customers and get us all of what we wanted and then some. The realays, everything like that. There's still some things that are in the GFX that are not translated in the lower end cameras like the X system, but for the most part, we got everything that we wanted. Again, keep in mind there's a big asterisk and you all know what I'm talking about. The video performance since the X-T3, the X-T3 was even more groundbreaking than the X-H2S because it brought incredibly good features, video features, in a photography camera at an incredible price. That camera launched the the professional video experience on the Fujifilm X system for the years to come. The camera won over a lot of people. The following cameras won over a lot of people because of the flexibility that you were getting out of those cameras. And the X-H2S is the top of what you can get as a hybrid camera right now in the Fujifilm lineup. The lenses they're releasing, they're all high quality. I still struggle to find a lens in the Fujifilm lineup, and I think I tried pretty much all of them that is not performing. One, the 18-135, I didn't like that lens. But other than that, all the other lenses are very, very good, and that 18-135 is one of the oldest lenses anyways. The new lenses are very good. You can get pretty great results, and they're going smaller and smaller and better. So you get great quality out of those lenses. And those lenses, you may like them or not, depending on what you need, but there's no doubt that they're very good when it comes to performance. You can criticize the prices going up. You're right, prices are going up. But look at the other brands. Look at what cost you need to face if you're buying similar lenses for other brands. There's basically no comparison. All these things, despite all the news of the last months on Fujifilm, all these things cannot be forgotten. You get great quality out of everything that you get out of Fujifilm, and that thing is a positive that needs to be reminded to everybody. Now let's start with my concern and let's start with the lenses. This is not the first video that I made on it, and you will find it somewhere over here. I was already concerned almost a year ago when I said, Fujifilm, we need to talk about Sony, because Sony was doing a lot of smart lenses, a lot of modern lenses that would appeal to a broader audience, while Fujifilm was still stuck in their old way of doing lenses. And this doesn't go against what I just said. The lenses are very good when it comes to image quality. However, especially if we're talking about hybrid lenses or out of the normal lenses, they really don't do any of those. And also there's gaps that are really hard to explain. Let me start with the lack of a 16 to 35 millimeters f2.8 equivalent. After 12 years from the launch of the X mount, I find that this gap in the Fujifilm lineup makes no sense at all. You either get the 8 to 16 f2.8, which is a great lens, don't get me wrong, but it's big, heavy, and it's got that bulging front element that doesn't allow you to use screw-in filter or normal screw-in filters. And also, it is too wide for the use of what the 16 to 35 would be. The 16 to 35 equivalent f2.8 is one of the three lenses that is called the Holy Trinity. The Holy Trinity is the three lenses that everyone need, every professional need to have in their system. It's just 16 to 35, the 24 to 70 equivalent, and the 70 to 200. We got the other two, and they're great lenses. We have never gotten a 16 to 35 equivalent f2.8. Yes, now you have you have Sigma or you have Tamron that fill the gap, but for a manufacturer that doesn't have a full frame line and makes the APS-C line their main camera line, having that gap and relying on third parties makes no sense at all. I said that already and I keep saying that. It makes no sense at all. You have to have that lens. I didn't have any use for that lens for a long time, so I didn't feel the need. I was using the 10 to 24, which is a 16 to 35, but it's an f4 lens. And I was using it for landscape, and that was more than fine. But as soon as you get into events, weddings, and stuff like that, that gap screams, film me, Fujifilm, make a damn 16 to 35 equivalent. Where is that lens? I cannot believe Fujifilm is not capable of doing a lens like that. That decision makes sense for Canon. Like Canon is not investing in APS-C, so they just opened their APS-C mount to third parties, and Sigma is filling the gap. Fine. Tamron will fill the gap. Fine. They don't care about APS-C, but Fuji is all about APS-C. Give us the damn lens. Even on the telephoto end, aside from the 200mm f2, there is no inspirational lens. There is no super high-end lens. Yes, they have the 100 to 400 and the 150 to 600. I have the 150 to 600 and I love that lens. I could get great pictures with it, and that lens, when you get focus, it's super sharp. I mean, you're seeing a picture right now. And that was taken like 3 weeks ago. However, for a professional system, you need to have long primes. There should be a 400mm f4. There will be a 500mm f5.6, which is being rumored, but that lens seems to be, based on the latest film, very similar to the 500mm f5.6 that Fujifilm made for the GFX mount. Now, if that rumor is right, that means that lens is basically the same lens with a smaller mount and made white. While that is not a dramatic issue, and that lens was very small, compact, and lightweight for a medium format lens, when you translate the same lens on a smaller mount, you kind of lose the advantage of using an APS-C sized camera. Because if you're using a medium format lens with a different mount on an APS-C camera, you're basically using a lot of glass that you don't need. So that means weight, that means size, and all of that. Again, that lens is lightweight and small for GFX, for medium format, but it will be a normal size and weight for APS-C. Now, I get why they might be doing that. They may be thinking, hey, on telephoto, they're going to be big anyways. You might as well reuse the same design. The APS-C is going to use just the center of the frame, so it's going to look spectacularly good. And believe me, that lens on GFX is spectacularly good. But at the same time, you're defeating the purpose of having APS-C. But other than that, there should be a 400mm f4, there should be a 600mm f4. You gotta get people those lenses, because those lenses are what drive professionals that work with that type of shoot or that type of genre to buy into the system. It's not just that, it's the autofocus, it's a lot of stuff, but that is super, super, super important. And my criticism on the 200mm f2 is that they went for a very great lens. I used it like very briefly. I'll try to test it as soon as possible. It's very good, but it was super expensive and very big and not long enough to be enticing. It's a great lens on specific situation, like if you're shooting at night in a small environment, say you're shooting basketball, or you're shooting volleyball, you're shooting soccer, or like small, not soccer, but like small environment, that lens was good. But if you need more reach, that lens is not that good for an overall use. So they went for a niche lens, and that probably the lens didn't sell that much, and they probably got scared about doing other lenses. That's what I'm thinking. Anyways, that is a problem because you need to have a complete system. Let's just leave aside the expensive professional lenses, but what about the f2 primes? Now, the f2 primes, they made the 35mm XC, what, $250, euros, whatever. That lens was, in my opinion, was supposed to be the first of a rebranding of the f2 line with a cheaper, plasticier, more lightweight body. But they didn't do any of the other ones. And a camera system need to have cheap lens for those who want to try like a prime, but they don't want to spend $400 or $500, which that is how much the f2 primes cost right now. You gotta give them an option to spend $200, $250. Where are those lenses? Where's the 10mm f2? Where are the fast primes? The last fast prime that they launched was the 14mm f 2.8. That is an era ago. Yes, they launched the 8mm f 3.5, which is a great lens. I love it. But that lens is super, 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 super wide, and it's not that fast. There's a huge gap in between that we've been asking to cover with the 10mm f2. We've all been asking, where's that lens? If people want that lens, give them the lens. Otherwise, you're not going to keep your fan base within the system. At some point, the alternatives that you get somewhere else are going to be enticing for those people. And when people start thinking about something else, you're almost basically lost them. You've almost basically lost them. And now the thing that drives me the most crazy about Fuji, they got into the hybrid camera systems set up with the X-T3, but then they doubled down on that with the X-H2S, which is a stupendous hybrid camera. But where are the video friendly lens? They made the 18-120, which is a very good lens, although it has a couple of quirks that I didn't like, but that was a very good lens that was specifically made for that purpose. But then they stopped. The lenses that they make, even the more modern lenses, they have a lot of focus breathing. When you zoom, they lose focus. They're not hybrid enough. And let's just take the aperture ring. They were the first ones. But now everyone's doing it, and everyone's going clicky and clickless. Because even if there's not many people that use the aperture as a mean to change while they're recording, there may be some. And now, even if there's no one doing it, it has become almost a standard, and Fujifilm has to make that. It feels like Fujifilm was one of the first one to invest on mirrorless, and they had a huge advantage over everyone else because the other one was sticking to their guns with the DSLR. And they had an advantage, and then they lost it. They kind of slowed down the production of lenses, which is what drives your system. Cameras are good for sales and probably for revenue, But lenses are what drive the system, and they're not producing enough new lenses. They're not renovating the lenses that are existing. I'm still wondering where's the 18mm f2. That lens was a great tool, very compact. Where is it? That lens is 13 years old. Give us a damn version 2. Where are all the other new lenses? Like the 18mm f1.4, I love that lens. But that lens was supposed to be good for video, but there's some focus bleeding that it's annoying. Also, I believe this is, I don't know if that's lens or body, but when you're focusing in video, you never have that very firm, like going to one point and stopping. There's always a little bit of hesitation. That ruins the video footage if you're very picky with that. And so, where's the hybridness of the system? You have great cameras. The XS20 is probably one of the best cheap hybrid cameras you have in the market. But where are the lenses to go with that? It's something that they have to figure out, because otherwise they are going to lose customers. Last but not least, aspirational lenses. I kind of touched on that, but every system is now making those aspirational lenses, the f2 zooms, or the 24 to 105 f2.8, or the super long telephoto lenses that very few people are going to buy because they cannot afford it. But those are aspirational lenses. Or lenses that have a weird zooming range, like Sony 20-70. That lens is just great. It's great for being your only lens when you're going around. Where's something like that with Fuji? They only sticking with normal lenses, meaning like normal zooming ranges. They are not risking anything. They're not willing to test the market to see if there's something like that. But those lenses are lenses that draw attention to the system. It's just that. They have to make some of those lenses. And the f1.2 and f1.4 primes are very good, very good. And you can call them aspirational lenses, although they're kind of cheap for aspirational lenses, which is good, not complaining about that. But you also need something different, and they are not making it. They're not making it at all. Now, hopefully, it looks like the new rumors are saying us that the 16-25, the version 2, is going to be smaller and more lightweight than the previous version, which is good, which is where they should be going, because again, APS-C should call for smaller and more lightweight lenses. So there's hints that they're thinking about doing the right thing, and I hope they have slowed down the production because they're rethinking the way they do lenses. I want to hope that's the reason why they're doing it, and if that's the reason, and we've had a couple of years of almost a gap, it's gonna be worthwhile. If not, however, it feels like they're losing the edge. They kind of lost the edge already on some areas, but they're losing the edge over other competitors. Even those that got into mirrorless very late. Now, let's address the big elephant in the room. Now, you don't need me to tell you that the autofocusing system got worse. The continuous autofocusing system got worse with the latest firmware. YouTube is full of videos that are touching on that, and it's true. Like there's no going around it. It's true. I didn't feel like making a specific video because, I mean, I tried, but I couldn't come up with something that made sense, so I didn't make the video. There's plenty of videos. Another video that confirms that wouldn't be that interesting. So they have, with the firmware upgrades, kind of broken the continuous autofocus. That is not always the case, meaning that face tracking has got quite a bit worse, while other type of tracking haven't been affected that much. And for sure, the single point autofocus hasn't gotten any worse. So it's not that the autofocus is unusable. Whoever says that in those videos is an idiot. The autofocus is usable. And if you're shooting single point autofocus, you don't have to worry about it. If you're not shooting that much face tracking, you don't have to worry about it that much. However, it is worth confirming that there's an issue. And to be honest, I didn't put too much effort into a video because I thought that they were going to fix it soon. And they released a firmware that was supposed to fix it, but it didn't. It didn't really fix the autofocusing. And this, call it the way it is, shitstorm on the autofocusing system on Fujifilm is doing a lot of damage. Because what it's happening is that it's breaking the trust factor between the brand and their users. Fujifilm wasn't known for having the best autofocusing system already. However, in my review of the X-H2 back when it was launched and then a year after, I mentioned that the gap with other brands was shrinking because the autofocus was really good. It wasn't perfect, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it was perfect, but it was really good and it was narrowing the gap with other brands. Well, these new firmwares are bringing us back to before the launch of the X-H2. It feels like the autofocus today is worse than when the camera got launched. And that is a huge issue. Not for everybody from a usability standpoint, because not everybody is getting affected at the same time, in the same way, but it's affecting the credibility of the brand. And it takes a couple of months to destroy the credibility of a brand, and it takes years to build it back. Also, if you're a professional and you are relying a lot on face tracking autofocus, that kind of behavior that we have today breaks your trust in your system. And that is a big issue. That breaks the flow of your shooting. That puts you in a position where you are constantly checking that the pictures are in focus because you are not trusting your camera anymore. And that is not supposed to be happening. So you have professionals that are facing a real issue, and it may be bringing them to think about switching brands. And enthusiasts that, even if they're not affected, they're listening to many people complaining about the same things. So in any case, you're ruining the reputation of the brand. Now, switching system is a bloodbath. Wherever you go, Fujifilm is still the most affordable professional system you can buy. And switching brand is always going to be a bloodbath. So it's not that easy for whoever is shooting Fujifilm to switch brands, because you're basically losing a lot of money on this gear that you're selling, and then you buy the same type of gear that it's bigger and heavier and costs twice as much of what you were paying for Fujifilm. So it's a real bloodbath. So people are kind of stuck with the situation where they are. And if Fuji doesn't fix the autofocus soon, there is a new firmware that fixes the autofocus soon, that bond with their loyal fan base is going to be broken, and it's going to be broken almost forever. Because there's kind of three possible scenarios that we can see when it comes to fixing the autofocusing system. Let's see those. They can, scenario one, spend a lot of resources and fix the autofocus now. They just fix the autofocus now. They invest a lot. I don't know, they have to fire the engineers and bring back Sony engineers. I don't know, but they find a way to magically fix the autofocusing system today. That costs them a lot of money in investment now, but builds back the confidence. The damage is already done, but if you fix it soon enough, people are going to forget about it. And that's the way that I would hope they go. However, it's been months since the shitstorm has started, and it looks like they're not going in that direction. And that's concerning for me, because I don't feel confident that they're going to. I was sure that we're going to fix it soon, but now I'm not that sure. The other scenario is that they abandon the existing camera, they just call it defeat, realize that it's an hardware issue that they broke via software and they cannot bring back to the way it was, and just say, you know what, let's abandon this camera, bring the new generation out sooner than we initially planned, and call it a day. Let's just start fresh. This decision may be the cheapest However, exposes you to two huge issues. One, you're losing forever the trust of your loyal fan base. So you're basically betting on new users, not on your old users. And two, you cannot mess the new system up, because let's face it. I believe that from a hardware standpoint, the current our hardware that is dedicated to autofocusing has to be gone. Like, there's no way they're going to be using the same hardware for top-end cameras for the new generation of top-end cameras. There must be a hardware limitation to what they have right now that is stopping them from going even better. This system has to be gone. If you bring a new generation of camera with the same autofocusing system, you can do magic with the algorithms, but once people read the specs, they're gonna call it bullshit, and they will not even listen to people that may be telling you how good the autofocusing system is. So you're putting yourself in a situation where you have to change everything and you cannot screw up. And at the same time, you're losing customers anyways, because you pissed a lot of people off, because the value of the cameras that we currently have is going to be nothing. The third scenario is the apocalyptic one. They just think all of this shitstorm isn't happening or is not worth of any attention, and just keep going with their planned release dates. Don't change anything, leave it as it is. They maybe use the same system. That is apocalyptic. That is where they lose all their customers, because they have to do something, and they have to do it now. Scenario 1 and 2, they're not perfect in any way, but they're way better than just considering all of this thing just bullshit coming from haters. I am not a hater. I am basically a partner from a lifetime that is begging the other partner to just be mindful, to come back to earth and be reasonable and do the best that that partner could possibly do to just reestablish the relationship between us. And like me, I know many people that are in the same spot. They cannot afford to lose people like me, for example. I've been telling people that the Fujifilm autofocus is crap kind of thing that it was being told like since a long time ago. That was crap. That was not true. I've been always telling people, don't care about that. It's only for specific scenario, and it's not crap. It's just less reliable than the top-end cameras. But now I cannot confidently say that, especially if someone who's been shooting DSLR is willing to approach the mirrorless system. Can I confidently suggest to go Fuji? Not really, not now. I need to see what happens with the autofocus in the firmware in the near future. So it's a bad situation. They're letting it fester, and it doesn't look it's gonna go away that soon. I hope tomorrow, after the release of this video, a big announcement comes up and they fix everything. In that case, I'll eat my words. I'll be the happiest person in the world. But right now, it doesn't look like that. And now the most philosophical concern, and it's about the future of the system. Where is it Fujifilm X mount system going? Because you have to wonder whether Fujifilm is planning on slowly letting this system go and focusing 100% on the GFX system, on the medium format system. You cannot dismiss this possibility, because you see that there's a lot of investment on the GFX system now, and they're going into the direction of more everyday use type of cameras and also lenses, it looks like, but the system is not there. Starting to abandon the X system today with a GFX system that is not up there just yet is a huge, huge risk. And that would basically mean abandoning your loyal fan base. Because yes, there's a lot of GFX users, don't get me wrong, But the vast majority of Fujifilm fanboys, including me, you can call me fanboys, are using the X mount system. And you cannot afford to abandon that. That cannot possibly happen. However, I'm starting to think they may be going in that direction. We'll see in the future. I give them a couple of years more. A huge step to understand where they're going is understanding what they're going to do with the X Pro 4. That camera, like the X Pro 4 is another thing that drives me crazy. The X Pro line has been Fujifilm's most wanted camera since forever. And the X Pro 4 it's in a position where it either is going to be the last of this generation of cameras or the first one of the new generation. And where this camera goes is going to tell us a lot about what Fujifilm is doing. I hope they're not going in a direction of this being the last camera of this generation, because they would basically kill the appeal of this camera. Because if they go with the same processor, autofocusing system, and whatever, it's old. That autofocusing system, yes, subject recognition and all of that, but the autofocusing system, the hardware, it's old. It's very old right now. It's very old. It has to go. As I said before, it has to go. But if you take your most wanted cameras and you put in there, we know for sure it's going to be the 40 megapixel sensor. That is without any doubt. But all the rest has to be the new generation. For people to actually love it, it has to be the new generation. Otherwise, you telling people that have built your audience in the first place, the X Pro users, you don't matter for us. You're an afterthought today. And that cannot be happening. I hope they don't go super niche with the X Pro 4. Although this is what they did with the X Pro 3. I hope they dial it back, make it a camera that most people can use. They don't go with weird decisions on the screen. Give us at least an XC4 type of screen, and we're all going to be fine. Give us optical, if it has to be an hybrid viewfinder, go back to the X Pro 2 type of viewfinder. It's more useful. No one's shooting super long telephotos with the X Pro anyways, so why bother? They're probably going wider. They're probably using a 16 or an 18, and that type of viewfinder needs to be dedicated to those type of users, not who's using 90, 120 millimeters type of lenses. Those are going to be using the electronic viewfinder. Truth of the matter is, the X Pro has been neglected for a while, and now they're in a position where they need to build the reputation back, and the X Pro 4 has to be a perfect camera. It has to be perfect for the market that they're aiming at, and it has to be perfect from an operational standpoint. That puts you in a spot where you cannot screw up, and that's never a good spot where you want to be. Fujifilm is kind of playing with fire right now, and it sucks for someone like me to say that, but they kind of are playing with fire. And at the same time, I'm not telling you to go out and sell all of your gear, because right now it's the worst decision you can possibly take, especially if you're an enthusiast, if you don't make money out of your gear. If you're a professional and you feel like your everyday work is put in danger because of the equipment that you're using, by all means, just sell everything and go somewhere else. It's business, and there's no place for feelings in business. But if you're an enthusiast, hold on to your gear. it's not that your cameras and your lenses all of a sudden become trash. They're as good as they were, with the exception of the autofocus tracking, especially the face track. Other than that, they're still very, very capable devices. And if you're not making money out of it, switching systems is just gonna hurt your wallet, and probably you're not gonna get any better picture because of your switching of brands. So, despite all of the negative things that I'm thinking right now, I'm still telling you, hold on to your gear. I am holding on to my gear as well. I really hope Fujifilm is watching this video because, as I mentioned before, this is a love letter from a lifetime partner that is feeling neglected. And I hope they understand that if they start losing users like me, who's being helping sell probably hundreds of cameras and lenses, they're losing those who've been doing their marketing for them without being paid. Because let's face it, I've been kind of doing the marketing for them because I've been praising Fujifilm for a long time. And it's not that I was doing it because I had anything to earn from it, because it's just what I thought when I was telling you. So if they lose me and people like me, and I know there's a lot of people that use Fujifilm that are now concerned, they're losing what is driving the Fujifilm community. And Fujifilm, you cannot afford to do that. You have a substantial number of professionals that still work with Fuji, and Lebovitz is one of them. She uses GFX, but the normal people, those who the normal buyer can relate to, you cannot afford to lose them. You can always pay someone very famous to shoot with your gear, but those people don't relate to those as much as they relate to the YouTubers. Whether you like it or not, we YouTubers, us YouTubers, are one of the driving factor when it comes to selling gear. And Sony has understood that a long time ago. Fuji, you should learn that too. And I'm not talking about Fujifilm Italia. That is Fujifilm Global, where they decide what to do with their products. They need to be aware of the risks that they're running. Thank you, guys. I was hoping this video was much shorter. It wasn't. If you were here for the entire duration, thank you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.